So welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is revision 2 of the MST CMX. Never was an RTR and is now certainly not an RTR. I'm not saying that I've replaced a lot. Actually, the amount of parts that have been removed and replaced is fairly small, but the ones that have been removed and replaced I think are pretty important. Obviously, the stock wheels and tires, the foamless abominations that are these. I don't know. Put them on a heavier wheel, maybe. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm not going to apologize for expecting a rock crawler to crawl rocks. I mean, if I bought a shovel and it couldn't shovel, I'd be disappointed in that shovel. So I'm not asking this little fella for anything he's specifically not outfitted to do. He's just one of those tricksy little hobbitses and has to be somewhat coerced into behaving as he should. Has truly, though, become a joy to drive. Even when he rolls away and hits the camera. When I bring this thing out here to wheel around, it's just fun now. I mean, this thing is taller than it is wide. And you gotta be really careful with the steering due to the binding issues. But he is behaving as I would want him to. I did replace the OE shocks, which they don't need to be replaced. I mean, as you can hear, they are nice and quiet and smooth. That's with 20 weight in them. They're quite nice. I nevertheless replaced them with the MST option shocks, the TC70 aluminum shocks, which come with tuning springs as well. I'm running the soft springs all the way around. The shocks do not come with any sort of option pistons. They just have the pistons that are pre-installed. They don't have holes. They have 3 slots around the outside edge, and as a result, this is the shock action with 70 weight. They are filled with associated 70 weight, and this is the heaviest weight I have. I think it could go a little higher. So yes, the TC70, I'm assuming the 70 is for 70 millimeters long, but you apparently also need oil of at least that weight if you want to receive any damping. The 55 turn has been set aside as I didn't think I could really get. I wanted more fine control than I could even get with this. So the $16 55 turn was replaced with a $17 racing Hackmoto V2 in, yes, 80 turns. That is an 80 turn 540 on there. The gearing is now 2288. I like a nice even round number. That's 4-to-1. I'm not out here for a minimum acceptable level of performance. I want something that will go up a rock. And in a few short steps, this guy is definitely getting there. I had barely adjusted my brain to hand interface to dealing with small tires, and now I've gone to something with a wheelbase 3 inches shorter than my rig that has small tires. So this is this is a bit of a mental adjustment here. The cut $20 tires, cut and greened, so much better. You know what he does? Loves to land on his wheels. And it's now I have the confidence in him that I will try. Look at that. I will try lines. I will actually try lines with it. Can we stay up? Yes. Very nice. I mean, that's right vertical for this guy. Drag brake, as one would expect. Drag brake on an 80 turn is quite a lot. You can get some proper low speed. It doesn't have a whole lot of bump to it. Let's hit full wide open here. You know, he's good for a brisk walking pace about, which with an 80 I would expect. The biggest problem I have now, and I think quite important, as I've been very vocal about not liking plastic pivot balls. So as it was my intention to replace them with steel or brass or whatever, I happened to notice, while having this little fella upside down, that with the stock link, you'll notice the angle of the link here. These were all the way to the extreme as far as they would go. So if you tried to get any suspension action, the rod end would bind against either the center, the chassis plate, or the link mounts. It would just bind. As you can see now, there's definitely no binding now. What I replaced them with, what these are here, are these little offset links, which came with the balls. They're the RC four-wheel drive ZS0833. You get 20 of them with the balls. Sadly, as it said on the label, these are axial width balls, which is not the same as MST width balls. So the balls, they would not fit. So I had to punch them all out and replace them with CMX 5.8 millimeter, specifically for MST. And you got to buy 2 bags of them. Not a big deal. My CFXW Blue Sky High has the CMX all the way around, and I think they're great. Everything now is very smooth. The suspension action is very, very smooth. And I think the damping of the 70 weight is pretty good. It could maybe go a little heavier. I did buy the only 80 weight I could find, some Traxxas 80 weight. But I had just filled these. It's only been driven a little bit on the 70 weight, so I'm not going to mess with that just yet. Perhaps one of the most important modifications is the one that doesn't cost any real money. We get our good friends, the side cutters, the Hakko side pliers, and you make yourself a little pile of these by simply cutting. I cut every 4th lug off of both rows. I noticed that of all the tires here, these have the tightest spaced lugs of all the tires that I have, and it was becoming impactful on performance. They are also relieved here, just a simple vertical nip through those, which will help the compliance of the tire. Because while it may be a little tiny short base trail truck, I want it to be a rock crawler. And I will make it a rock crawler whether it wants to be one or not. So after the cutting is done, pretty much everybody has got this around the house. That is our good friend Simple Green. Hose the tire down with Simple Green. Little agitation like how you used to clean clay tires. Little agitation with the nylon brush. Let them sit. And then the Simple Green almost magically goes away. It just all soaks in there. And mind you, this is a $19.99 set of probably RC four-wheel drive Dixie Peck Mud Country knockoffs. But you know what? They feel pretty good now. If you think back to the unbox level of this rig till now, it's almost not directly comparable. It comes with a 26 turn, and obviously that is an insane choice because it's got a little bit of pep to it with an 80. Oh, he fell. He side hills better than I would have anticipated. Still needs a little more controller tuning on forward and going to brake. The transition of brake is too abrupt. But now we're getting into like really properly fine-tuning. Yeah, that hookup, that bind, not as bad in reverse as in forward. It really pushes the front suspension down when the tire binds to the link, and it really, like, it creates unpredictable handling. But I think part of that is my doing. I freed up the suspension so much that I've introduced a bind. Yeah, that reverse is too punchy. I've introduced a different problem. I've exchanged one problem for another, which is, that is part and parcel of how I operate, I think. There isn't much else in the way of changes other than just for my own purposes, and I hope I've only wheeled it a little bit with this link. This is built out of some cast-off Red Cat parts in order to discard this guy. Just because with this guy, most servo horns would come down and hit it. Even the servo horn that came on the RTR, you notice if this link was, it basically rubbed against the top of it. So I think with the flibbity-flobbity action of it, it should be fine. The only other thing I did, as you can tell by the speckling of my hand, is my very good friend, Tri-Slide Bike Aid, which is just a carrier with molybdenum in it. So that goes on every pivot ball and pivot point, and that's a big part of how you get so smooth. No binding, no squeaking. Then we get another, there's a little bit more bike product in there. I do have bikes and I ride bikes. Good old Squirt chain lube, not just for chains. This is basically just, it's paraffin. It's wax in a carrier. What you do is apply a little bit on the spur and pinion, let it sit for a bit. It will dry, leaving just the wax behind. And then when you tip in some throttle, I realize that not everyone is this obsessed with it being essentially silent. The loudest noise here is the simple green tires squeaking against the ground. Oh, also, I should point out, the link here added a little bit of toe out to the front. The way the camera is right now, it looks like a tremendous amount of toe out. It is not actually that much. But what it did do was add so much more steering angle that the tires basically stuff themselves into the lower links. And I couldn't figure out what that was when I was first wheeling it around, because you would go to apply throttle while at full lock, like this, and the whole front end will kind of squat down. And that is the tire getting stuck. That is the tire getting stuck on the lower link. I guess I could attempt to fabricate some sort of bent link. As I'm sure you've noticed, the lower links on this are very short. They are under 2 inches long. I had also just thought about going lazy and just mounting that to the inside of there, then putting a spacer in there. And that might be something that I try. I don't think it will affect the articulation much, if at all.
Sooner rather than later, and most likely off camera, that wheel to lower link, that tire to lower link bind will be addressed and corrected in whatever way I figure out to fix it. This is particularly tough for this little fella. These are not, I think we're just going to cheat it along the edge here if we can stay up. Because he is short wheelbase up here, he is fallen into some gaps. I just don't think that between any level of revision on any of the rigs I've quote unquote built, whether that be actually building them or getting an RTR to perform the way I want it to perform, I don't think I've seen as large of a transformation from any other rig as I have with this one. You never really notice how much ascending you do at full steering lock until your front tires are binding at full steering lock. I think today he's gonna make it. Ooh, come on, get over there. Come on. Now, mind you, it was not so long ago that this vehicle could not even make the beginning of this ascent, much less complete it. And now, with $20 tires, which I think, honestly, if they were a couple millimeters shorter, I mean, there's also the option of I could just put some bigger offset hexes on here and push the tires out, but I kind of don't want to push the tires out. But if I push the tires out, they're not going to bind on the lower links anymore. It doesn't really have enough, there's just not enough pure grip. I think these tires actually will season in a little bit. That rock is very smooth right there. Like, trying to get the front tire off of that one rock is not proving to be easy. Not today, little fella. Not today. Let's talk for just a second about the low speed control and and smoothness of this, which I changed the pinion because when I changed the motor I had to change the pinion. But it's all OE gearing other than that. I added a little super lube grease to them during reassembly, but I mean wide open throttle. It's hard to ask for more than that. That is pretty slow. I think the wheels are doing about, let's see, 53. Okay, so that's about 10 RPM. So I can easily replicate a wheel speed of 10 RPM. And you can see the spur is just, that thing is creeping along. I don't know what the little click clack noise is. I'm gonna have to track that down. It's so much better. So much better. In revision 1, he became fun to drive. In revision 2, you can actually wheel this, and the amount of work required to get it where I really want it, what would be revision 3, is minor. Like parts wise, I mean, might try a different tire, right? I mean, we're talking $20. That said, these aren't bad. These aren't bad at all. I just don't think anyone has ever gotten to a point where they said, these tires crawl too well, they have too much grip. I guess can I get out of that? I guess a drift guy could have too much grip. I don't think a rock crawler can have too much raw grip. That is an ugly rock for someone with tires this short. Can we pull it around? Remember, little fellow, low wheel speed, very low. We're not a bumper. That is iffy. Oh. All the way into the hole.
So there you have that. This little fella is, I would say, above competent now. This is a drastic change from how it came out of the box as an RTR. And I'm not mad at these tires. I'm not displeased with them at all. I think they do pretty well. So look forward to seeing more of this guy in the future. And thanks for watching.